Chosen Freeholders is hereby called to order. Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Freeholder Bobadilla, absent. Freeholder Vice President Gill, absent. Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Jones.
Freeholder Jones?
He's present. Freeholder Luciano.
Here.
Freeholder Richardson.
Here.
Freeholder Sewell.
Here.
Freeholder Toro.
Present.
Freeholder President Timberlake.
Here. Okay. Please stand to salute the flag. I'm going to ask if Freeholder Jones please lead us in the salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have before me a certification from the clerk that this meeting is indeed in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved?
Madam President, there are none.
Okay, are there any topics of discussion?
Madam President, there are none.
All right, now moving to public comment session. Is there any member of the public wishing to comment on agenda items only? Okay, is there any member of the public wishing to comment on any issue at all? Please come forward, state your name and affiliation for the record.
I'm all right, Cowboy, the home of Cowboy Ranch House. Live in Newark, I'm district leader. And I'd like to say good evening to the freeholders and president. I'd like to mention I'm learning a lot being a district leader in Newark around Weekway Park with all the different setups that they have made for the football field and putting the people in place for keeping the place up. And I see a lot of activities around Weekway Park that are cleaning up of the park every day with the Newark handling of the debris and stuff around the park, which it helps the people see that the park is clean and keeping it nice is in their favor for enjoying the park. And I also like to say that I was just keeping an eye on, like the porta potties around there, and I wanted to make a suggestion to the freeholders to maybe the contracts that they give out for different things. I was wondering if there is anybody really checking on what is being done around there, and I see that those porta potties are cleaned every 2 days. I mean, they're cleaned but there's a lot of things that they're not doing. It's very sloppy. The toilet paper and stuff is not put in there properly, and maybe cleaning hands. They got all the facilities in the porta potties, but they're not being put in there the way they should be. And I think that if the paper was put in there on the function of the toilet paper racks and the hand, they would be taken care of a lot better. I see that sometimes it's so bad that the cleaning of it, that even every 2 days it's not being taken care of properly. Now, I wonder if anybody is really checking on the people that have the contract to see that the work is done. I was going to call them up and see if they were being taken care of properly, but I would rather have the county look into that and take care of that. I will check on that a little later. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public wishing to comment on any issue at all? Okay, hearing none, closing public comment session. Okay, Madam Clerk, are there any ordinances or resolution on introduction and first reading?
Madam President, there is one, an ordinance appropriating $2,500,000 by the County of Essex for the acquisition of various capital equipment.
Mr. Jackson.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Yes, we have an ordinance for $2.5 million, and Mr. Actor is here to give you more information.
Thank you, Robert. Good evening, Madam President. Mark Acker, Director of Department of Administration and Finance. This is a capital ordinance to acquire various pieces of equipment. In the total amounts, $2,500,000. $1,475,000 would go to administration and finance. $285,000 for the Treasury and OMB. $1,190,000 for our data processing, information technology, $800,000 for our correctional center, and $225,000 for our recreation department. Again, this is a capital ordinance. It's not a bond ordinance. We're not borrowing money. We have the money on hand. We just need to appropriate it for the purposes I just mentioned. I provided a list which you should have, of what everyone that I just delineated was requesting. And if you have any questions, obviously, I'm here to answer.
Mr. McInerney.
Mr. Acker and I spoke this afternoon. He did call me to inform me of the breakdown of these expenditures and the fact that the money is in the capital surplus account. The cash is there to actually pay for this without having to go out for financing. I did want to just get a little bit more information on the amount of $800,000 that was relegated to corrections and dealing with the inmate management system. If you can give us a little bit of breakdown on that and what that's for.
Certainly, and actually, since Carl, our Chief Information Officer, is here, he's fully aware of the automation products, equipment that we're talking about here, including the $800,000.
Carl Hunt, Assistant County Administrator. The $800,000 is to upgrade the software that houses the prison and operate the whole security of the prison. It's been there over 10 years now, and since then it has never been upgraded. And the PC equipment that support it is also outdated and have some security risk. So based upon that, I had meetings with the correction center and gave them the advice that we need to move forward based upon these risks, and also to the protection of the staff there to upgrade this software.
Okay. Well, that's all I really wanted to have to delineate. That is something that, as he said, has been not updated over an extended period of time. So it's definitely something worth, acquiring.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Paul Vecchio?
No questions.
Okay. Now, I have a question regarding the Freeholder Board, and it doesn't say anything about this in this ordinance, but is the Freeholder office in any way, shape, or form connected with the IT department?
Madam President, again, Mark Acker. The answer is no.
Okay, thank you. Freeholders? All right. Do you have a motion and second to introduce this ordinance? Moved by Freeholder Toro. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Toro.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebold.
Yes.
Freeholder Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Gill, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla, absent. Freeholder President Timberlake.
Yes.
So move.
Thank you. Okay. Madam Clerk, are there any ordinances, resolution for second reading and public hearing for listing purposes only?
Madam President, there are none.
Okay. Are there any ordinances, resolution for second reading and public hearing, period?
Madam President, there are none.
All right. Let's move to our resolutions. Madam Clerk, if you could read into, have I been calling you Madam President?
Mm-hmm.
Happens.
That's okay.
Madam
I knew
Clerk?
what you meant.
If you could read into the record all resolutions at a later time.
Yes. Madam President, if you didn't make that admission, nobody would have known.
No one would have known. Hey, it is what it is. When you're comfortable in your skin, you can do stuff like that. So We're going to read these resolutions into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson, resolutions 1 through 3?
Yes, Madam President. The county executive is honored to nominate three outstanding individuals to reappoint three outstanding individuals to our Homelessness Trust Fund Task Force. And the first is Ms. Paula Pikes, and she's here to answer your questions.
Thank you. And recognizing Freeholder Rufus Johnson, who's present with us. Ms. Pikes?
Hi, Paula Pikus, Bloomfield Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, Ms. Pikes. Can you tell us about some activity on this board? This Homeless Trust Fund Task Force has had a lot of questions surrounding it in regard to where are they at with the funding, where are you all at with the funding, where are you at with distributing it?
Well, we have an RFP that's going out, and we're focusing on domestic violence and helping people who are at risk of homelessness.
Okay. Do you care to elaborate more?
Well, you know, we sat down and we looked at what populations really needed our help and who we felt we could help with the funding, and we decided that this group is really at risk and really isn't being served the way we felt it needed to be served in Essex County, and that's why we chose to use these funds to help people who are homeless or at risk of homelessness, who are struggling with domestic violence, in a way that they will become sustainable going forward. So the goal is always sustainability.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McInerney? Mr. Paul Vecchio? Freeholders? Freeholder Toro?
Just a question. So these funds have already been used for this purpose to help that?
No, the RFP is out. So
Oh,
this is what the committee decided we would use the funds for this time.
Okay. When do you expect?
Well, the RFP is going out, and we're hoping, would you say by December?
Maurice Brown, Director for the Division of Community Action and also the co-chair for the Homeless Task Force. Good evening, Madam President, freeholders. As far as the RFP, we're in the throes of working on that RFP, finalizing it. The issue of domestic violence, youth homelessness, and also mental illness, mental health, has led quite an investigation as we're preparing for our RFP. And as Ms. Pikus mentioned, we looked at the domestic violence, that's what we're looking at, and the sustainability of domestic violence, those that are victims. Right now, we're in the throes, and we hope within the next month or two to go through the administration so that they can make the announcement of when we're prepared to move forward. However, no monies have been used as of yet.
Yeah. Madam President?
Freeholder Toro?
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure, I want to say maybe 3 years now since this task fund has been created, or?
No, I'm sorry. The task force was created June 2016.
Okay. All right. And I just want to take the opportunity to thank all three individuals up for reappointment tonight, and specifically to Paula Pikus, because, you know, I've had extensive experience with her, and I know your caliber of work and expertise, and thank you to the administration for accepting my recommendation of Ms. Paula Pikus on this board. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I may add, Madam President, through you and freeholders, the others that are nominated for reappointment have been working very hard and diligently as well, and contribute quite a bit to the accomplishments of the task force.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Jackson, I'm asking that maybe there be some type of press release or something that goes out. I know it's not a usual practice when it comes to RFPs being out there, to just let organizations know that they can apply for these funds. There has been a lot of questions from the community that my office fields all the time about what the status of these funds are and when can people begin to apply. Mr. Jackson, what is the accumulated amount in the account now? Would you know?
I do not know. Mr. Brown, excuse me, Mr. Brown.
I can only give an approximation. The approximation is approximately $350,000 to $400,000.
Right. So for us to be sitting on that for now, this is 3 years now. We passed this legislation in 2015. This is the
Well, just 1 year.
1 year.
1 year?
1 year.
When did we passed it last year?
Yes.
Yeah, June.
You know why it seems like 3? Because we worked on it so hard in 2015 during the first year, right, Michael? That's what it was? But either way, the community had input in that then. So for them, that's how long they've been waiting. And you know what it is? The fee has been being collected, I think, since 20, so for 3 years. That's why it's so high. It's $3 on a certain, document that gets filed with the registers and deeds of mortgages that people pay, and it goes into the account. So my point is that people have been waiting to apply for these funds for 3 years. And I'm very serious about homelessness and housing. So, all right. Back to you, Mr. Brown. You have another person?
Yes. Mr. Milton Hobbs.
Good evening, Milton Hobbs from the City of East Orange. I'm the manager of neighborhood housing. Good evening, freeholders, Madam President.
Good evening. Want to tell us about the task force and?
Certainly. First of all, I want to thank each of you for your faith in myself and all of us who have worked this last year diligently to identify those areas of most concern, of need, I should say, and also that in my office in East Orange, as most of you, we get a number of just people that need, the need is so desperate. And so I feel particularly grateful to be a part of this committee because we get an opportunity. The funds for the City of East Orange just are not enough to address the needs, and we especially don't have any specific funds for domestic violence. So this is near and dear to my heart because we're able to do something that I can't do during my 9 to 5, that I can extend my expertise, if you will, to help this committee forward and champion homelessness and in another way that we just can't do at home. So I do appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hobbs. Mr. McInerney?
I have a question.
Mr. Paul Vecchio? Freeholders? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hobbs, where, and I know this is a question open-ended for anybody. Where did the focus specifically for domestic violence come? Because I feel like homelessness is such a broad issue. So why is there not an RFP to where if domestic violence organizations want to apply, they can certainly apply, but also if, let's say, people who are helping feed or shelter anyone who's homeless also be able to apply, whether or not they're battered or not. And to be clear, I'm an advocate for domestic, being anti-domestic violent. I don't believe in that. But I just want to know, how come the RFP isn't more broad? How come domestic violence organizations can't apply for it along with other organizations that are also combating homelessness in various different ways?
Right. And Madam President, that discussion was had with our group, very, very rigorous discussion. But at the end of the day, we thought, as a group, we thought it was best to look at it sort of kind of myopically, because if you look at it too broad, the resources just wouldn't be enough. And we thought that if we just focus on one area for right now and try to really make as much of a dent in getting something done in domestic violence specifically, because none of our organizations had funds for that at all. So while we don't have enough funds for homelessness, period, we didn't have any at all for domestic violence. So I do have some funds for homelessness in other areas. So that's how we kind of came to that decision.
Okay, in the RFP, is it for one organization to apply, or is there room for many organizations to apply and qualify to receive funds, or like many domestic violence organizations?
Sure, it would, from the discussions, and I'm going off the top of my head, so please don't hold me, but it's for many, or we'll vet what comes through and kind of come up with what's the best combination. So
it's not the $400,000 just to one organization. It's going to be split up.
No,
Okay.
that wasn't the intent.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hobbs. Thank you so much, Mr. Brown.
nomination Tariq Tucker. Mr. Tariq Tucker is not here. So I have to delay his reappointment. Ask the Madam President and freeholders through you if he can get his reappointment next time.
Yes. Thank you. So he can come before us next week. Thank you so much, Ms. Brown, and thank you for those of you who are serving and giving of your time. You know, please don't feel like I'm beating you up here, but I don't know if you can ever understand how important it is to me that these funds get distributed to the community in the best way possible, in the most adequate way possible, to help the most amount of people possible to combat homelessness. And that's what it is. And I'm quite sure that all of you who were appointed originally heard how serious I was with vetting all of those appointments. And I believe we were in South Orange during that freeholder meeting last year when everyone was approved.
Right.
Freeholder Richardson?
Yeah, I just want to follow up on a line of questioning that you presented. So approximately how many nonprofits could potentially win a bid? So it's $350,000 to $400,000. So would it be a maximum of 5 nonprofits? Would it be 10 nonprofits? How will the money be distributed? 50,000 each? Is there a number that you have in mind?
Well, through you, Madam President, Freeholder Richardson, to answer your question, this is what the RFP is going to actually show, whether it be case management, permanent supportive housing, whether it be transitional housing, what agencies do what, and that's what we're looking for. We want these agencies, some may do case management, some may do transportation, some may do the shelter. This is what we're looking for, all these different nonprofits to address all these issues that have to do with domestic violence.
So through you, Madam President, so you really haven't drilled down to exactly how many case managers you're going to have or how many do what. So you haven't really drilled down, you haven't gotten to that yet.
No, that's once the RFP, we'll look at the agencies and see what they have to offer. That's written in the RFP, what is needed. And then those agencies will then apply for the RFP, and then we can take a look at them through our scoring sheet.
So would there be any redundancy?
There might be. There might be if we feel that there is a need, and we have that much of a need, yes.
Thank you.
Real Seabolt?
Thank you. Looking at the resumes for the people who are all being presented to us for reappointment to the Homelessness Trust Fund Task Force, all 3 have excellent records, and I'm really pleased that they're willing to continue to give their time. And I thank the county executive for recommending that they be reappointed. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I'm gonna just clarify, Fearless People, because I know, that's what you do. But, sometimes I'm not saying that any of those individuals, and we're not appreciative of their time. We're talking about as homeless people. We gotta make sure that this is right. And I appreciate your leadership too, Mr. Brown. You know how I feel about you. It's nothing against anybody. Your resumes are impeccable, and most of you I know from the community, and I appreciate the work that you all do, like you, Mr. Hobbs. But I want to make sure, as I was very serious last year, that this is something that needs to be taken extremely seriously, because there's not a lot of money for housing, period. Okay, so I understood the cry for domestic violence, and like I said, I am an advocate for people who are DV victims. But housing funds have been cut all throughout the state, and homelessness is an issue, period. And I just need to drive home that point, how important and how impactful, because if in 3 years, really 2.5 years, we can raise $400,000, that's huge, especially with the shrinking pool of funds for housing issues and for combating issues of homelessness. So You know, I just want to say that, you know, this isn't one of those, oh, everything is great and wonderful. No, these are very important funds to the community, and I want to make sure that they're gonna reach the community in the most effective way as possible.
We believe they will, Madam President.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brown, and I appreciate your leadership.
No, thank you.
Mr. Jackson, we're going to read everything into the record at a later time. So do you want to move to resolution number 5, as number 4 has been withdrawn by the administration?
Correct. Number 5, Madam President, is a bid exempt contract for $30,000 to provide software support for the Office of the Sheriff, and Mr. Hunt is here to give you more information.
Carl Hunt, Assistant County Administrator. This interface will add bench warrants from the current CSI providing the New Jersey Administrative Office courts to the Prosecutor's Office, the case management system, and import warrants into the Sheriff's Office warrants module of the records management system. This system database is being funded through 2014 U.S. Bureau of Justice grant.
Mr. McInerney?
I don't have any questions, Madam
Mr.
President.
Paul Vecchio? Freeholders? And just for the record and for the public watching, what's the difference between number 5 and the ordinance that we just introduced? The ordinance regarding the capital equipment and the sheriff officer?
These are two different ordinances. One is for the infrastructure of the county, and this is the supporting of bench warrants.
Thank you so much. Okay. Mr. Jackson, resolution number 6.
Yes, Madam President. Number 6 is a follow-up. Mr. Hunt, again, is here to explain. But this is a follow-up. As you may recall, back in April, we passed an emergency, the board passed an emergency resolution declaring an emergency with respect to our network and data security, and this is a final expense. And again, Mr. Hunt can elaborate.
Carl Hunt, Assistant County Administrator. This was as Mr. Jackson was saying, this is of the $500,000 grant to enhance the security of our all the various different departments in the county, and this is a final $25,000 to use for the administration of final rollout and implementation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hunt. Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Mr. Paul Vecchio?
I do have a question. Mr. Hunt, I understand this is paying for an emergency expenditure, but is there any future contract required for this service for maintenance or upgrading or monitoring?
No, none at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll sustain itself at this
Sustain
point?
itself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Freeholders? All right, hearing none. We're going to list it, resolutions 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 for action at our meeting next week. Mr. Jackson, resolution 7.
Yes, Madam President. Pertinent to our earlier discussion about homelessness, this is a grant, approval for a grant to provide emergency shelter and transitional housing for homeless individuals, and Mr. Martinez is here to explain.
Okay, Mr. Martinez?
I'm here representing.
Speak the microphone.
Can you use the microphone, Mr. Martinez? And please state your
Yes,
name and affiliation
okay.
for the record.
My name is George Martinez. I'm the business manager for the division of we changed the name, so Division of Family Assistance and Benefits, formerly known as the Division of Welfare. I'm here representing Ms. Hawkins, the director. With this program. This program has been in existence for over 30 years, approximately 30 years, and we're asking for contract to provide emergency shelter and transitional housing services for homeless individuals and family for Essex and family of Essex County residents. This calls for a 3-year contract for 20 agencies. The provision of shelter services is one component of the divisions, which we abbreviate as DFAP, Division of Family Assistance and Benefits. And and it's been mandated by the state of New Jersey. So and then the program serves an average of 650 single adults and 400 families annually. And the estimated cost is $14,450,000, of which the county's share is approximately $722,500. Funding comes from the United States Department of Human Services and also the New Jersey Department of Human Services, Division of Family and Development. Any questions?
Mr. McInerney?
Yes, I have here with me Ms. Rhonda Bennett. She's a colleague, and also Mr. Doolittle from the Peace House. He's one of the vendors.
Okay. Do you want to add anything?
No.
No, nobody wants to add anything? So you just had them come down here just so they could sit, they could listen to you tell us about it, which is great. So they're your cheering section?
Yes.
You guys sure nobody has anything to add? Okay. Mr. McInerney?
The contracts are within the documentation. It delineates those agencies that will receive these funds and the amount, also the amount of the 5% that is due from the county. My question is the 5% cash or is it in kind? Is the 5% contribution from the county, the $727,000?
It will be, it's cash, because
Cash.
it's cash.
So this is appropriated?
Yes.
In the budget. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Polavacchio?
I don't have any questions.
Freeholders? All right. Hearing none, please list it. Mr. Jackson? Let's move to resolution number 9 and number 11, as they're both the same departments.
Okay. Number 9 is from DEPE. Mr. Vieira is here to explain. This is an operating agreement with New Jersey Transit for a JARC program. And again, Mr. Vieira is here to explain.
Thank you, Freeholders. Michael Vieira, Director of Special Transportation Services for both divisions of Employment and Training and Senior Services. Actually, 9, 10, and 11 are all together. They're the Job Access Reverse Commute. Right now, we operate 3 services. The Essex Night Owl, which operates from 1 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the morning in the towns of Newark, Orange, East Orange, and Irvington. And we take people to work at that time. Most of those people go to Newark Penn Station. From Newark Penn Station, they could jump on buses to go to Newark Liberty Airport. They can get into New York. They can really, Penn Station is the hub of the transportation in Essex County. We also operate the Route 10 shuttle. That begins up on Murray Road. If you're familiar with the Route 10 area, that's where the Home Depot and the Marshalls is. That's exactly where the New Jersey Transit bus stops, and it does a loop. It doesn't go further up Route 10. Our system actually picks up the people from the Home Depot, Murray Road area and brings them west on Route 10. But many people don't know is actually Tiffany's is up there. Tucked away, Tiffany's has a large warehouse right on Route 10. They don't advertise it, but a lot of our riders go to Tiffany's and the pharmaceutical place.
Discount jewelry?
I don't know if it's discount Freeholder, but
Find that out for me.
I know it's a job for our people. And the third shuttle that we operate is the Fairfield West Essex. And right on Bloomfield Avenue, there's a shopping center called the West Essex Mall. 2 buses come from the Newark, the Oranges, East Orange, and Irvington, and they stop right there. However, many of the businesses and jobs are located further in off of Bloomfield Avenue. We will shuttle those people in to those jobs. Last year, we provided about a little bit more than 125,000 one-way trips. This year, we're on target to provide about 128,000. I do have Mr. Murthy from the Executive Director of Meadowlink Easy Ride. Meadowlink is actually transitioning to a new name called Easy Ride, but he is here. He is the operator for our JARC contracted services.
Okay. Please come forward.
Good evening, freeholders. My name is Krishnamurthy. I'm the Executive Director of Easy Ride, and we are the operators for the jog shuttle programs.
Okay. Thank you for being here, and I know we have heard you speak before. Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Ms. Paul-Vecchio?
No questions.
Freeholders? Freeholder Stevo?
Thank you. Michael Vieira does an excellent job in transportation. He serves as president of the New Jersey Council on Special Transportation, and we're quite lucky that we have him here in Essex County working so hard for transportation for so many people so they're able to work and provide money for their families. Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. I have a random question.
Yes.
For the administration, but it's in relation to transportation. Is there anything that could potentially be done, and I want to just maybe have a later meeting, so on the record, let this just be like a note to self, to have a meeting about it, for special needs population that might want to have like transportation? I don't know. We have it?
We have that. That's my other hat, Freeholder. About a year ago, I actually also took over the responsibilities for the Essex County Special Transportation System. That's for the senior citizens and persons with disabilities. So that's been in effect probably since the 1970s. And July 27, 2016, I actually started wearing both hats, Division of Training and Employment, which I'm here for today, but also with Senior Services taking over the Essex County Special Transportation Program,
Right. Okay.
which I actually started 30 years ago.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. I knew that we had the senior transportation, but I didn't know that it was also for seniors and special needs.
Absolutely.
So how does it work? Let's say, and let me speak in specifics. There's programs around the county that have after-school programs for children with autism, and sometimes they have a hard time getting the children from the school to the actual after-school program meeting place. So is that something that may potentially?
Well, usually, we start with the persons with disabilities at the age of 18, because usually anybody under the age of 18, there is funding out there, especially autism. Autism has become epidemic in New Jersey. You know, 30 years ago, we didn't hear about autism. Today, we're hearing a lot about it, and there's a lot of funding. And the reason why we're hearing a lot about autism in New Jersey is because New Jersey is so far ahead of other states that the people who have autistic children are actually moving into New Jersey because they have fantastic programs for autism. What happens is once these young adults actually age out and become 18, that's when the problems begin.
Yeah.
But I can work with you on that, Freeholder, looking for some transportation for under 18.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much, and I'll have Deborah follow up.
Okay.
And I guess that would be like the Jetsby House, like over the age of 18 in South
We provide transportation to Jespy House. We provide transportation. All you have to do is a person is a senior citizen or a person with disabilities. All they need to do is call our phone number and just arrange for a trip. At least if you give us at least 3 days' notice, we'll provide the transportation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Please list it for action. That's resolution number 10.
Actually, 10 and 11.
That was not, say that again, Mr.
I was
Jackson?
yeah, 9, 10, and 11 he covered, Madam
Okay.
President.
Okay, and now let's go to the Parks and Recreation, which is resolutions 12 through 17. And we'll read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson?
Thank you, Madam President. As you mentioned, these are a number of items from our Parks and Recreation Department. The first one being for a holiday light display at Turtleback Zoo. But Director Hartwick and Mr. Zaitz, I believe, are here. I think Mike is here too, right? Yeah. We have the whole crew for you here this evening to talk about these items. And I'll just
Okay,
let them go one by one.
Yep, so 12 through 17, and just a point of clarity, also 19 and 21 are all parks as well.
Director? Josh, okay.
And Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Good evening, freeholders. As the administrator alluded to, number 12 is for our holiday lights. Very excited this year. It's going to be starting on the 17th of November, and it'll be for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then beginning on December 8th, it'll kick off 7 days a week. So we do have the zoo director here if anyone specifically has any questions about that.
Would you like to come forward?
And while he's coming up...
About any of these, Josh? Do you want to keep going and see if anybody has any?
Sure, if you'd like, sure. Number 13 is exercise our option for outdoor lighting. This is for any kind of scoreboard or field lights throughout the park system. And we do have the vendor here if you have any questions. Number 14 is authorization from the Open Space Trust Fund for the Riverfront Park property settlement. And I would have to defer to county council on that specific item.
Ms. Gassion is here to answer your questions on that.
Okay, so then let's stop right here and we'll just address what we've discussed already. So the holiday lights. Mr. McInerney?
I don't have any question on that.
Mr. Paul Vecchio?
Not on the holiday lights, no.
Freeholders? Would the director like to just talk about the holiday lights? When does it start? Just for the public to know when they can come and see.
I can give you the dates. It's November 17th.
Now, Josh, why'd you drag that man down here, Josh?
He might know the dates.
He's bad with the dates? All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Josh. You can go ahead.
If you'd like, I could whisper it to him and then he can repeat it.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Sure. It's November 17th. We'll begin Friday, Saturday, and Sunday only. And then December 8th, it'll begin 7 days a week. And it runs through the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you so much. Would you like to add anything, though, Director?
Not really. It's a great opportunity, we really think, for the community, and we're excited.
All right, awesome. And just state your name and affiliation for me.
Mike Kerr, Director of Turtle Zoo.
Thank you so much.
If you'd like, I can move on to number 13. And as I mentioned, Drew Britton from Britton Electric is here, in case you have any questions.
Good evening. My name is Drew from Britton Electric Company. Basically, we're a small outfit. We consist of 3 of us. We're all family, brothers. We've held a contract previously. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
Is this a bid contract? Did this go out to bid?
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Yes, it is a bid. This is the 24-month option.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Paul Vecchio?
Is it an on-call contract as needed, or are there scheduled repairs or replacements that are lined up?
Through you, Madam Chair, it's as needed.
Freeholders? All right. Hearing none, thank you so much. Mr. Zates?
Sure. Number
County
14.
Council?
Yeah.
Is that yours? Courtney's up.
Good evening, Courtney Gassion, Essex County Council. Through you, Madam President. Resolution 14 is the request for the approval through the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs for the authorization to use the Essex County Recreation and Open Space Trust Fund to fund the Riverfront Park property settlement in the amount not to exceed $2,047,700. This is a result of a appellate division decision that was handed down in September of this year, affirming a jury award as a result of an ongoing litigation between the County of Essex and a private property owner for 4 parcels of land in the city of Newark, located in the Riverbank Park area. This litigation started in April 2010, when the County of Essex sought to take these parcels through the eminent domain action. They, at that point in time, as they're required by law, after several years of negotiations with the property owners, moved to take by condemnation. They deposited approximately $3.3 million in a court-supported trust fund, again, as required by law. And from that point forward, April 2010, litigation ensued between the parties. based on several factors. First, on the actual valuation date for the property, as well as what the value should be, as a result of some ongoing environmental issues concerning the same property. After it wound its way through the court system and ultimately up to the appellate division, as I mentioned, the appellate division affirmed a jury award, which took place in October of 2014, in the amount of $5,045,000. That was ultimately the amount that the court determined, or through a jury, that this property was valued at. So since the County of Essex had previously deposited that $3.3 million in the trust account, and the jury award was approved and confirmed by the appellate division, the county is now responsible for the balance of this award to be payable to the property owners, so they are properly compensated for the value of these parcels. So the county is now seeking to utilize the Open Space Trust Fund in order to fund this $2 million resulting judgment against the county. I'm happy to take any questions.
The original amount that went into trust was $3.3 million. This is for $2,047,000.
Yes.
So that's $5,347,000 approximately.
And there was interest was accumulated as well.
Right, I assume so. So the interest, as well as that differential between the appraised value of $5,045,000 and $5.3 million plus interest, did that fund the litigation costs?
Yes. Yeah, that's it. That's the total amount. There's no further litigation cost for this particular matter. There is still an outstanding matter with regard to the environmental issues, which I mentioned before, that has not yet been resolved. The counties and the property owners are still working towards settlement. That will actually, our hope is to end up in money coming back to the county as a result of the evaluation of the actual environmental remediation costs.
So there's a period of, quite a few years.
Yeah, it's in excess of 7 years.
Yeah. So on the 5.3 plus, so what were the legal fees? They had to be close to $500,000 or $600,000.
What were the what?
The actual legal fees.
I don't have that information. I can certainly find out for you, though.
You could just send it to me.
Okay.
Mr. Paul-Vecchio?
And Ms. Gassion, we're using the Open Space Trust Fund. This is obviously to acquire open space. The county has had title over this property since the eminent domain proceedings.
That is correct.
7 years ago. So
that is correct.
We know the site. We've moved forward and developed it and cleaned it and developed it.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
One other question. With regard to the environmental issue, are there any funds held in escrow for that at
Yes.
this point? How much is?
600. I'll give you the exact amount. Hold on 1 second. $631,649.85.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Freeholder Jones?
With this open air funds that you were talking about, what is it, $5 million? How much was that total?
The total amount was $5,045,000.
Okay. But before the county took interest in this particular open air, this property, or whatever it is, who did the research to find out whether it was worth that amount of money in terms that is, when you talk about environmental cleanup,
Right.
your eminent domain, after that, then they reevaluate the property, then we're not talking about the attorney fees. Is it worth it after we have spent all of this money? What will we get out of this as Essex County citizens?
Well, we're the owners of the property that's been developed into open space. That's why we're asking to use these funds for the development of this property. So it's parkland. It's the Riverbank Park. So, and to answer your question with regard to an assessment of the value, several appraisals were done on the property by both the county and the property owner. So the ultimate valuation is a result of a judge and a jury looking at those appraisals and making a determination of what appraisal is more accurate with regard to the property. So the county, yes, did do their due diligence to determine what the appraised value was of the property. And that was actually part of the litigation, one of the issues in the litigation of which appraisal should be the governing appraisal.
I hear what you say, but I could ask a million and one questions because I'm confused. But just seemingly for 7 years, that someone should have said who did the evaluation of the property to see whether it was suitable for open air for Essex County, should have said, you know what, I think this is a bad deal. And it's constantly feeding into the open air fund that could be used in a much better way in many of the urban areas where we need that type of open air fund as opposed to that riverfront funds. Thanks.
Okay, well, I do understand your point, Freeholder, Madam President, through you. But just to clarify, these funds were being used for the development of a park in Newark. So it is part of an urban area in Newark that's been developed as a result of the county acquiring this land some 7 years ago.
But this is in the downtown area, not in the community, am I correct?
It's along the river, it's along the Snake River, that's correct.
We could have kind of pushed it inland. Okay, I'll just stop there because there are many questions that concern me, Madam President, but I'll go along with the procedure. So,
Mr. McInerney?
Just, what was the source of funds of the 3.3 million that went into escrow?
That I can't, this was before my time, Mr. McInerney, so I don't know where those funds came from back in 2010, but I can certainly check.
If you could do that, and also ultimately...
Okay, I apologize, but Mr. Zates is telling me that was a partial Green Acres and open space.
Okay. And was the $5 million that was actually paid, were they ever paid anything at closing? Or was in other words, was there the ultimate cost of the land outside of litigation cost, was that greater than $5 million or was it $5 million?
No, that's the total cost.
So they never got paid anything. What we said they were owed, the $3 million.
That was kept in
That was
trust
kept
for the
in
last
escrow.
7 years.
Okay.
They have not seen any money until this judgment was affirmed by the appellate division.
Okay, so then it came down to an evaluation differential of about $2 million.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Paulvecchio, I think you had another question or a point of clarity?
No, I think it was mentioned where the location of the park is.
Okay. Freeholders? All right. Please list it for action at the next meeting, but please also send to the Freeholder Board as well as to Mr. McInerney all questions in association with it. Mr. Jackson?
Yes, Mr. Zates will continue on item 15.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 15 and number 16 are related. Number 15 is actually the funding source for number 16. It's for Bailesburg Park playground design, and the project will entail demolition plans for the existing playground, new playground design, that includes fencing, appeal to both boys and girls, ADA compliant, rubberized safety surface, 2 separate play areas for children ages 2 to 5 and then 5 to 12, drinking fountains, benches, trash receptacles, signage, shade structure, lighting improvements, spray apparatuses, and then swings, slides, and climbers.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Mr. Polavecchio?
No questions.
Freeholders? Okay.
Number 18 and number 19 are also related. I'm sorry, number 17 and number 18 are related. 17 is the funding mechanism for number 18, and this is for design services for Riker Hill Art Park. And that project will include building facade improvements, signage, lighting, landscaping, parking and walkway improvements, review of the parking requirements to meet some compliance issues, garbage cans, doggy bags and cans, benches, new park signs, landscaping, and other such entities such as that. Some paving and concrete as well.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Paul Vecchio?
No questions.
Freeholders? Josh?
Yeah.
Freeholders, Seabolt?
Thank you. All of the items we're discussing now were under consideration at the Open Space Trust Fund Advisory Board meeting on September 25th. They were all discussed fully and approved. I spoke to many of the artists from Riker Hill Art Park, and they're very pleased, very happy that this is going to happen.
Sure. I believe we're on 19. 19 and 20 are related. 19 is the funding mechanism for number 20, which has to do with the leopard exhibit. And as requested, we do have the zoo director here, as well as the architect for the project, if you'd like them to speak.
Good evening, Freeholders. Mike Kerr, Director of Turtleback Zoo. Our leopard exhibit looks really nice on the front, but actually in the back, it's been repurposed a few times for different species, and we're actually seeing several safety concerns, as well as both species are animals that are in danger, and we're hoping to breed them and create a better environment for them.
Okay, Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Paul Becker?
No questions.
Freeholders? Okay.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. As I mentioned, Mike Piga is here for number 20, if you'd like him to say a few words.
Please.
Hello. Mike Piga from French and Perillo.
Would you like to explain?
Unless
you just come, because you're a fan. That's cool, too.
Yes. What we are going to be doing is working with the zoo director on doing the rehabilitation of that leopard exhibit, working with them to set up the building structures in the rear.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Ms. Paul Vecchio?
No questions.
Freeholders? Freeholder Seabolt?
Thank you. Mike Piga has done such excellent work for the county with all the previous work that you did. It's really been terrific, and I know this will be great too.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. And finally, number 21 for the Parks Department is a 24-month agreement with Downs Tree Service for stump removal, tree trimming, and grinding services. And we do have Scott Romandetta. I apologize if I'm butchering his last name here from the company, if you have any questions.
Scott? Mr. Scott?
Good evening, Freeholders. I'm Scott Romandetta with Downs Tree Service. We're going to be providing this service as a tree removal, tree trimming, and stump removal.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
This is a not to exceed. I'm assuming this is on a unit basis, so on an as-needed basis?
Joshua Zates, that is correct.
And again, this was a bid contract.
Correct. It was 3 separate items within the bid, and Downs was the lowest on each of those items.
Right. Thank you.
Mr. Polavecchio?
No questions on that.
Freeholders? I have a random question someone asked me the other day. When you do the stump removal, does it also include a certain percentage of the roots? To make sure, otherwise, how do you make sure like the termites don't come and all of that?
It's depending upon how much is accessible, where it is it under sidewalks, is it in a free area where we do have full access to get rid of the roots? 9 times out of 10, the spec may be anywhere from 8 to 12 below grade.
Say that last part again?
The spec may be anywhere from 8 to 12 inches below grade.
Oh, okay.
So anything that falls within those confines, we grab.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. Freeholders? Mr. Polavecchio, everybody's good?
Good.
It's
Thank
pretty
you.
straightforward stuff. It's
Yes.
tree stump removal. Okay. Mr. Zates?
Thank you. That's all I have.
Through you, Madam President.
Freeholder Richardson.
I do have a question, not about any of these items, but it's about the playground on Weequahic Park, in Weequahic Park, the one that fronts Elizabeth Avenue. When will any decision be made in terms of whether that will make the cut this year to be renovated?
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. I can certainly bring that information back to the Parks Director. Offhand, I'm not really sure what the plan is over there.
Thank you.
Okay. Freeholder Jones.
The Indian Trail, there's a big tree fell down. It's rotten, very dangerous. Is he responsible for cutting it up and removing it in Wheatbury Park? It's close to Elizabeth Avenue, as I was there.
Through you, Madam Chair, I would have to check the specs specifically if it's for trees that have already fallen or for trees that are about to fall. But let me check that, and we'll get back to you.
You got to remember one thing, these are children, our children that is playing, and right below that big tree is the railroad track where trains run. I don't know what train line it is, but it's very dangerous, and I wish you would attend. I did bring that concern up the last meeting, and hopefully I would have gotten an answer. I have not received anything in writing, but I wish you would attend to that because we're waiting for an accident to happen with children. I'm finished.
You finished, Ms. Jones?
Yes, ma'am.
All right
For the
now.
time being.
All right, freeholders? Okay. Please let us know the answers to those questions regarding the dead trees. But then again, it's back to my point though, the dead trees, if they're not addressed, they attract termites and then bring them to the area, and depending on the proximity to where any type of residence would be or any building, like it's a snowball effect. All right? As well as the safety of our children. Okay. Mr. Jackson, we're actually going to be listing resolutions 12 through 21. And we're going to move to resolutions 22 and 23.
Yes, both with Department of Public Works. Item 22 is a 2-year agreement with Ferrer's Transmission to provide on an open as-needed basis for repairs to our fleet in the amount not to exceed $160,000.
Okay. And 23?
23 is the contract award to All American Demolition, and this is for demolishing the child care building at 50 Grove Avenue in Cedar Grove, in an amount not to exceed $66,000.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Mr. Paul Vecchio?
Just a question on 22. Is that for the entire county? I don't know if it's another automotive contract, but I think sometimes they're split up between east and west or north and south. Is this the whole fleet?
This is for everything.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
yes.
Okay. Freeholders? All right. Hearing none, please list resolutions 22 and 23. Mr. Jackson, was there any particular vendor or here tonight that was to speak in regard to any resolution that may have been missed and did not come to the microphone?
No, Madam President.
Okay. Thank you. Freeholders, are there any questions or comments regarding accommodations 24 through 74? Freeholder Seabold.
Thank you. I'd like to be included on 49.
Okay. Freeholders? All right. Hearing none. Please list those aforementioned resolutions 24 through 74. Freeholders, are there any report of board committees? Are there any legislative reports? Any written communication? Any unfinished business? New business to discuss? We're going to open up public comment session.
All-Right Cowboy, 48th District Leader, Newark. Good evening again. Some of the things that were spoke on tonight on the trees and the stumps and the things that you were talking about clearing up, that's what I was talking about. The trees and stuff that I see that the stumps and stuff is there, and I was wondering about who was supposed to be doing that, and if there is somebody that's doing that, is there anybody following up on what is being done and how much it costs, and these are the things that I was noticing around in that park as I'm there every day, and I see all these things happening, and and I was wondering about, is anybody checking on who's doing the work and how much it's costing to do those things, and just to make sure that the contracts is being carried out for what they're being paid for. And that's what I was also talking about, the porta potties. I got results back when I spoke on it, and it doesn't clear up what I've been trying to say, that things aren't being done any differently than what I was talking about. And I see that the porta potties was knocked over because the people just get so fed up with trying to go in it, they figure if they knock it over that it's going to be cleaned up. But I've been checking out those things every day that they've been doing it, and I see after they clean it out that these things aren't clean, they're not fit to go in and do anything. And this is what I was talking about, the people, hearing the people talk about it.
Mr. Cowboy, where's the porta potties?
Around the field, all over the park. I checked out all the porta potties throughout the park.
So through the administration and Parks Department, can we check on that? Okay. Sure. You can proceed, Mr. Cowboy. Is that all?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Through you, Madam President, the particular porta potty that All-Right Cowboy is talking about is right before you get to the building. It's in that bin. I run the park, so I've seen it turned over as well.
All right. Are there any other questions from the public or comments? Okay. Hearing none, we're going to close public comment session, and we're going to open up freeholder comment session. All right. Well, I have a comment to make. You see a new face here with us tonight. That's Miss Khalifa Shabazz, who is, as you all know, Michael usually has two partners that he's able to, what I mean by two partners is two attorneys that can help him with legislation, resolutions, different things. And Khalifa is just recently joining the team. She has helped just offline, almost in a pro bono type of way, on other pieces of legislation. And in particular, she's going to be working on a special project for something that we were doing with the sheriff officers and the prosecutors, something we've been working on for quite a while. So she's going to be hopefully tying that up and bringing that home this year. Ms. Shabazz has a very extensive resume. In all of the excitement, I don't think that we had an opportunity to print it out and to display it. However, you will receive a copy of that this week and tomorrow, actually. And that's that. Ms. Shabazz, would you like to say anything?
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, thank you for allowing me to become a part of this team. I'm very excited to get to work immediately. Many of you I've met before and known through other things I've done. And some of you I've not met, but I've always admired and appreciated your work here for Essex County. And I'm excited to be here, and I look forward to working hard to continue to assist the citizens of Essex County and through the Board of Children Freeholders. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Collector, for everything.
Thank you.
And Ms. Shabazz, if you can just tell us a little bit about your experience of what they can expect to read on your resume.
Okay. I graduated law school in 2000. I was a Bronx District Attorney for several years. I then worked for a law firm in Fort Lee for a few years.
Khalifa, pull a mic.
Sure. doing personal injury matters. I then worked for a law firm here in Newark, handling municipal entity work. I started my own law firm in 2008, where a great deal of what I did was representing municipal entities. And in 2014, I became the corporation counsel for the city of East Orange, where I handled all the legal affairs for the city as the director of the law department. And that time is ending, and so I look forward to serving you all in the capacity as a deputy counsel to the Freeholder Board.
Thank you so much. Freeholders? Freeholder Richardson?
Welcome, you're a welcome addition. Good to see you.
Thank you so much, Freeholder.
Freeholder? Freeholder Jones? Freeholders? Okay. Yeah, Mr. Paul Vecchio.
If I could just take a minute, I'm excited to have Ms. Shabazz join us. We've had some changes in our legal department over the last year as our longtime assistants have gone on to some bigger and better things, including the State Superior Court judge. And we've had Evans Anyanwu join us probably not even a year ago. And he's done some great things and had some good visibility with the board. And I know Ms. Shabazz, who's got a really broad level of experience with local government law and representation of public bodies, will bring a lot to this board. And I feel very fortunate, and I think we're all lucky to have a really good team in place.
Thank you so much. I think you first interviewed Ms. Shabazz back
Months and months ago.
probably before the summer, huh?
Definitely before the summer.
April?
In the spring.
In the spring. Okay. Thank you so much. All right, any other comments? Motion to adjourn?
Move.